Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel again. I'm so happy to have you here today. And today, what we're going to be looking at is modularity. Modularity is probably the most important part of any coding program, of any program out there. It allows us to scale, it allows us to look for errors and troubleshoot, and allows us to do that in a way that is easy to maintain. It's Modularity is a lot like making a great pizza. All the ingredients have to have a place, they're part of the taste, they're part of the overall experience, and at the end, what you have is they're there for a reason. And at the end, you have a great pizza. Mmm, molto bene. So, without further ado, let's just jump right into it and I'll show you what modularity can do.
All right, so let's dive right into it. And I'll show you today why. Well, actually, what I want to do is show you why architecture is so important. And part of the architecture is modularity. As we start building programs, those programs are going to get a little more complex. And what is really important is to understand why we need to have some built-in modularity, kind of like pieces and parts of different pieces of Lego. You want to put them together, yet you want to be able to disassociate them at the same time. Um, so besides our tic-tac-toe program, that was fairly simple one, of course. We don't need modularity there, right? It's fairly as simple as a program can actually get, but there is no growth for a tic-tac-toe program, for instance. But most applications, if not all applications today, if you look at Microsoft applications or just about any app on the market is built in with modularity. That is lots and lots of different files, which every single file might manage a uh, a couple of different functions or one single function, and that allows a a way to maintain it in pretty much every type of scope that you need to maintain the program. So it's maintainable, um, it's scalable. For instance, if we look at our robot here, pretend that the robot is actually an application, so it's maintainable, it's scalable. It allows for flexibility, so we can make changes to the part of the program that, for instance, controls one of the appendages, so whether it's the left arm or the right arm, or the legs, or the vision, or mobility, the torso mobility. So apps will mature with time. As you want to add more functions, you probably want to make it a lot more user friendly. So what happens with when apps become more user friendly? Well, they you're actually adding layers of complexity. So there's more code that's being added. There's going to be more files. You're essentially transforming the architecture from a 1.0 to a 2.0, and you're probably over time going to keep growing things and increasing the user friendliness or adding more functions, more. You really want to essentially get your app to grow with the times and the needs. So using generative AI, or in our for our purpose NLPs, so the natural language to code, but we still, I mean, the natural language to code makes it easy for us where we don't need to study that much syntax or really start picking up books and spending years in understanding the syntax. But what we do need to know and understand is the architecture of a program. And don't worry here, I have a link um, at the bottom of this lesson and to the GitHub page, so you could definitely download this. And here I just want you to follow with me a bit and kind of have an idea as to why modularity is important and what it kind of looks like. You don't need to take notes, so you could just sit back and enjoy with a good coffee. And let me show you what the madness behind modularity really is. So there's a couple of files that you're going to get familiarized with. And here I just want to show you the overall structure of what a program looks like in terms of files and organizing those files. So we have here the my project. It's going to be my package. We will have an init.py, the module.py, and so this here is the overall architecture, and we will jump straight into what they each mean. So we'll set up the virtual environment. That is a .sh, as you could see. So that is a file. And it allows you to create the virtual environment that is easier to work in a virtual environment than other types of environments. Um, we will then have the init package. Not much to describe here. Basically, this is where you probably want to introduce your versions, and you'll create other versions as you go along, and there's you add layers of complexity. You will create your module files, and you should call these like module, yeah, so on and so forth. These will be a .py, so of course Python files, and this is what allows us to handle the data processing operations. So it will contain things like functions and classes, and you can add, well, we'll have lots of different types of data. So the data types. One thing that is really interesting is to note that it's a define def init, and you'll always have the self, and then you will have uh, the name of the type of data or the actual class. So that's going to be something that you will see a lot. Um, and then you could go into other, you build the self functions that are easy to recall. What else? Not much else here. The next is to create a main file. And so the main application file, this is a really good one for keeping everything very nice and tidy. And overall, you could put a lot of definitions here that can then be called by other files. So this is a good way to structure applications. One thing that I do like is the helper functions that we could add, and you'll see that in quite a few of our projects. And yeah, so basically that is the core of everything that we will be doing in terms of processing. Um, we then have the that is part of the main core, and then it's all about you could start creating second modules. So the 1 to 5 is fairly simple. That is essentially the main part of the application. Not too much to worry about. Fairly simple breakdown of applications. And the next steps is basically we start creating secondary modules, third modules, and so on and so forth. These followed um, the same type of reasoning, and they contain things like additional functionalities, which all start with a def, and in this case, we also have we could create tables with which we format logic and so on. Um, what we also want to do is we want to create a test file. So we'll be building a few test files that allow us to see whether or not the program is working as it should, and we can import those PyTest, basically import them as a package, and that allows us to essentially separate it from the main core of the so from the other modules, and it allows us to test everything together. So we have in the test module, we will have a couple of we could test all the functions. Uh, then there's other files like requirements files. So this is a .text file, and it just allows us to read the different parts of our project. It allows us to see the different dependencies, for instance. Then comes the setup file. So this is the file that allows us to call the different packages. So basically, it find packages. And then we come to what's called the code configuration, where we could set up a .json files. And this allows us to kind of condense everything together. And we could do that in our JSON files. Um, so this is, it's called workspace settings. And that's an example of what it looks like. Again, don't worry about a thing. When we start building apps, we will have all of these defined and broken down into different files. And the NLP code will actually allow us to format our program into different files and call upon the different files. So you don't need to figure out how to break down an app into all these files. We will have the NLP set it up for us. But what I want you to be aware of is essentially that applications are broken down in a modular way. And that is the core of what allows you to build good applications and maintain them and grow them. Then we have the launch configuration, and this allows us to essentially launch the program. And I've added a little bit of additional info when it comes to working with multiple files. So how to import between modules. We could use how to use Visual Studio's different navigational features. One good one is using VS Code's Explorer view. We will get into that because this is really VS Code allows us to have to split the editor, and we could see the different files. And we could see them side by side and navigate between them quickly, which is really awesome and allows us to touch code in different files and code that is related to the different files together. So again, it even enhances the power of modularity even more. I've included some best practices, and we do have an example of a workflow, but not to worry there. So, where will we apply all of this? Essentially, this will all be applied in one of our first programs, and the programs that I want to show you, that I want to have you create using NLPs, are going to be uh, productivity tools. So we'll dive into productivity tools because they are oh so important today in terms of, for instance, um, formatting um, Excel spreadsheets. So when we refer to formatting Excel spreadsheets, more often than not, what we are really referring to is automating the formatting. Because let's say you're pulling data from all kinds of different locations. So you're pulling data from one tool, and you're pulling data from a second tool, or even a third tool, and then you're essentially bringing those that data into various Excel spreadsheet tabs, well, putting it in all the different worksheets, but most of the data that you're pulling from different tools, whether it's an Oracle database or an SAP database, um, they may not be constructed or formatted the way you need them to be formatted. So just simply copying and paste them into the Excel spreadsheets, you still need to have those formatted. And whether it takes like 50 steps or 100 steps to format, well, you can now automate it all. And automation makes your lives oh so much easier. And that is one of the first things that we will explore. So we will automate some Excel spreadsheets, and even automate some uh, Google spreadsheets, and I'll show you how to use Google Script, or basically known as JavaScript. Even if you don't know anything about JavaScript, I will show you how to automate that as well. I know that's different from Python, but I find that it's so important today to know how to automate Google Sheets as well. And you'll I hope that you will learn, and that it actually makes your life so much easier for work and for whatever you need in terms of automating both Excel and Google Worksheets. And yeah, I hope that you liked uh, today's program, and I uh, I hope that you could take some time to just glance at what the structure of a program really looks like and how important modulation is. And I hope that you will like and subscribe. It does let me know that I'm on the right track. And yeah, I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.